For those guys that are just joining us, I just got back from the North American International Championships where I secured my World Championships invite with this team that you can see right here. It's very similar to something I've been showing recently. Uses Terrakion, Shadow Rider, all that good stuff with the Pod Mount Revival Blessing. Been a big fan of it. We're going to review kind of how the team works, and then we're going to take a look at all of the opponents' teams that I played at NAIC and break down how my run kind of went versus their teams, what my lead matchups looked like, and how I was able to leverage wins and a positive record with this team to get my Worlds invite, even though all of these matchups are terrible, right? That's the thing. They're all bad except for one. So the way the team generally works, if you guys want to take a look at this, this is my team. You can see all my Terras here. This is the open team sheet version. I'm using a Specs Kali Shadow. I have normal Terra for the Kali Mirror, which is really, really cool. But I also have really cool tech like Fling, Beat Up, King's Rock Whimsicott. I have Upper Hand Terrakion. I have Imprisoned Draining Kiss Entity for those Fairy Terra Shadow Riders. Really, really cool tech team. We were talking about this a lot. I was looking at like all the teams they got like in the top 100 of this whole tournament. And I think I actually have like the most creative, cool team. I cooked just hard enough. Really, really cool team. And yeah, I think this is just a really, really good one. The way the team works, generally, is you want to lead Whimsicott and Shadow Rider in almost every matchup. This gives you a few different flowcharts to go down. First one, right? Congrats on Worlds. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. I'm going to be at the World Championships. That's what we're all about here. But when you lead Whimsicott and Shadow Rider, you can do a few different things. You can go Tailwind and blow them up. And if they KO your Shadow Rider back, you just bring up Pod Mount, Revival Blessing was a Pod Mount, Shadow Rider's back for round 2. Really, really good. You haven't even used your last Mon. It can be the Entity to enable an Expanding Force. It could be Clefairy. It could even be the Terrakion. So just trading Tailwinds and using Whimsicott's good. If they have a more reactive board, you just fling at them and then double tap them with the Shadow Rider. Very, very easy, super solid. Another option is Shadow Rider's heavily threatened by something like an Incineroar, or, you know, something that wants to, you know, throw a ton of dark damage in it, like an Urshifu or something. You pivot out the Shadow Rider for the Terrakion and then side beat up that turn, right? And remember, because we have Covert Cloak on our Terrakion, we can't flinch our Terrakion with the beat up just in case we have to go for a beat up in, like normal. So those are the 3 different kind of playstyles the team has. You want to lead like Whimsicott Shadow Rider and go Tailwind, go into a beat up mode, or go into like a fling mode where you're going to be able to force them to flinch. I also think there are other options where you can just lead like Clefairy Shadow Rider or Clefairy Terrakion or Entity Terrakion. Those are also definitely viable options, which you'll see me talk about a little bit later. But the Whimsicott Shadow Rider is generally how this team wants to be leveraged. And it forces your opponent to have they have to lead very specifically to just not get rolled, or they have to have Terapagos. And you're going to see I fought 4 Terapagoses with this team. So we're gonna start this off. This is my first round opponent's name's Rockwell. It sounds like a gym leader's name, right? I was like, oh shit, is this guy gonna hit me with like Rock Ogerpon, like gym leader over here? But very, very cool team. If we take a look at his team, let's do that right. Do that right here. We can see his team, Shadow Rider Mirror. Not my favorite matchup, especially in the first round. You got to think like I traveled all this way, not that much sleep. I red-eyed over to get to NAIC, and my opponent, my first round is a Spec Shadow Rider Mirror, and no one wants to fight that. But remember, I have really cool tech for this matchup. I have normal Terra on my Shadow Rider. I have Terrakion, which is pretty good here. But they have really cool tech too. They have Mind Shout. They have Roaring Moon, which is like incredibly obnoxious for my team to have to deal with. And I have to play really, really well to get around this. So I'm taking a look at my notes and just generally telling you what I led. In the first game, so in the Shadow Rider Mirror against this team, I tend to leverage, like, this is also my first game of the day, first game in a couple days. I lead Clefairy Shadow Rider into this one. I'm thinking like, okay, if they want to lead like incredibly obnoxious like Mind Shout or Incin Roaring Moon and go like fake out knockoff, I can just terrestrialize my my Shadow and not get killed by knockoff, or I can pivot in the Terrakion on the knockoff, get the +1 from the Justified, and then have Clefairy Terrakion at +1 and then be fine. So that's what I was thinking. They led Incin Roaring Moon, which I actually think is the right play. And I actually end up forcing a Terra on the Roaring Moon because they thought I was going to go for the Pollen Puff. Remember, my Shadow Rider does have Pollen Puff on it, which is actually really, really cool. And they realized, like, when they saw that lead, they're like, oh, crap. Like, if he Pollen Puffs this Roaring Moon and gets the KO on it, then next turn, helping him Pollen Puff would threaten his Incineroar. So he actually had to terrestrialize his Roaring Moon into its poison typing. And And we talked about that like after the matchup. He was kind of he got a little bit in his own head and pinned, and I was just astraling. Like I was just wanted to go like astral, reviver blessing, astral. That was how I won game 1. And then in game 2, they lead with let's see, they lead Shadow Rider Roaring Moon, and I lead Whim Shadow Rider, which is again what you're supposed to do. But again, Shadow Rider Roaring Moon, that's so much more damage, and I can't really trade correctly. They end up getting me in a really, really close game near the end, where it actually came down to their Shadow Rider is locked into Astral Barrage, and it's my NDD. And they have a Roaring Moon that's at like 80%. And if NDD like lives the knockoff, I Draining Kiss like all the way up to full. I lose my item, but then like you can't break me, and I end up just barely dying to this knockoff. So really, really close game 2. Because again, that's how Shadow Rider mirrors go. And then in game 3, we got ourselves into a situation where I lead Whim Shadow Rider again, and I changed the mons in the back. I brought Terrakion in that game, so I couldn't revive correctly. In this one, I basically just go like Whim Shadow Rider, Palmot Clef, and I go like full support. And they lead in Sin Roaring Moon again, and this time I do the basically I do the Pollen Puff play, and I get the KO on it, and I basically just roll from there. They really made good adjustments in the matchup. They stopped bringing Mind Shroud. They brought Mind Shroud in the first one, and they realized like Mind Shroud just didn't really have the coverage needed to leverage advantage in the matchup, I think, because it can't hit Shadow Rider, and I have Ghost Terra on a couple other mons as well. And so they really leaned heavily into like, you know, their, they leaned heavily into Ogre Pawn and Sin and Roaring Moon, and then tried to like come down to like Shadow Rider Speed Ties, and I was able to just win out. So pretty cool set, I think. That was my first round. Again, that was against Rockwell, and they ended up going 4-5, and they're a player who I think is really good. We talked about, they're from Boston, and they're really good. I think that losing that first round probably tilted them a little bit, but you know, I had to win, right? So I had to get it. We take this all the way to the bank. So I'm 1-0, and I'm feeling good. You know, I was able to win a bad matchup, which is a mirror, and I'm feeling good. And so my round 2, I'm going against Logan Mauser, who fellow other like Worlds player. He's really, really good. He went 9-6. We qualified for day 2. He went I think 7-2 on day 1. This is an auto loss for my team. This is an absolutely auto loss. Like perfect Terrapagos. Like Terrapagos with like redirection, Scarf Ursh, the Rilla, the Ensign, the Sash Flutter with Icy Wind. My team has no matchup into this. And I make the games that I think we went to 3. I do think we went to 3, but I cannot really win the set. And he ends up getting me. And remember, my whole team, the whole thing I'm trying to do is just avoid the Terrapagos matchup. I know it sounds like really weird, like, oh, you have shots? Like, you can just enable your Terrakion. And then, like, you enable the Terrakion, and then the Flutter rolls you, or the Ursh rolls you, and you have to Terra to not die to one of those, then the Terrapagos gets you. So it's like perfect Terrapagos balance is an auto loss for this team. There's just nothing. It's like I will beat any other matchup. I'll beat any other matchup, as we're gonna show today. But like Terrapagos balance is just, if they're perfect Terrapagos balance, I don't really have an out. So he ends up getting me, and I take a loss. Now what's significant about that loss is I'm now 1-1 here, and I'm fighting Ethan Trejo, and you just heard us talking about this. This is Zenta. This is a good matchup for me. This is the only match from the whole tournament that is a good matchup for me. My team definitely tears Zenta apart. I have the right tools. This is where the whole like Clef, Shadow Rider really comes into its own. It's a lot of single target damage. I can just trade really, really effectively, blow up the things that I want. There's no wide guard on the Zenta, so like I can just bully things. And Pelipper, note that it's a Covert Cloak Pelipper, not like Sashed. What's actually really cool, they actually leveraged that Dark Terra a little bit and made it kind of complicated, but I was still able to, we won game 1 very easily, and then in game 2, I was winning. I have game in 2 turns, and the game DCs, and the judges tried to get us to replay it, and I was just incredibly adamant that I had game in 2 turns, and there was not a thing my opponent could do about it, and so like I was like putting my stuff away, and I wasn't even like entertaining the idea of like turning the game back on, and they gave it to me. And I hate being that guy, but sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. You know, if we take a look at some of the leads in that one were like, yeah, I led Indity Shadow Rider in game 1 because I wanted to just leverage advantage versus POW, because you see that POW has Icicle, Crash, not Spinner. So if I just like lead Indity, I can just like undercut everything. I went Indity Shadow Rider Clef, so I went double redirections. I was basically, I had 3 Mons, and on the turn that my 3rd Mon got knocked out. It was still actually like on the field when the DC happened. You know, Shadow Rider gets knocked out. I would then bring up my Pawmont, go follow me, Revival Blessing, re-bring up my Shadow Rider, and they have like a 10% rill with no terrain, 20% rill with no terrain, and what is that, 20% Zenta with no wide guard. So I just double Astral, I win the game. So I had game on board, and I didn't even want to entertain the idea of going to a game 2 again, because I already feel like I already played the matchup like twice, right? How often did you beat up Terrakion? Every set. Except for this one. You don't do that versus Zenta. Actually, no, I still did. In game 2 of this one, I did. I might have. I think in game 2, I went Clef Shadow Rider, but that Whims Terrakion, and I pivoted out the Terrakion to soak a Dark Attack on the first turn, and then I pivoted out the Clef, and then I came back in, regained speed control, and like I already did all my, like, I'm not gonna call it cheese, but I already did my stuff. So that was my 3rd round, right? And so you can see after the 3rd round, I go on like a massive win streak. And this is kind of nutty because we get some really rough matchups, right? So not only did I fight does beat up King's Rock work the way we want it to? Yeah, it does, but you don't use it like that. You just fling the King's Rock. Like, it would flinch my Terrakion if I wasn't cloaked, but I'm not trying to flinch them with beat up. Because that's not, you don't do that. But I've had some bad matchups. So Shadow Rider, Mirror, not great matchup. Tropos, worst matchup. Zenta, good matchup. Next matchup, of course it's another Tropos, right? Of course it's another Tropos. We're going to be going up against Ryan Oswald, and he has actually a really cool team as well. This one's using a Cloak Tropos, right? And so now I can't fling it to flinch it, which is actually how you kind of beat Tropos, and I can't flinch it with Rock Slide. So this matchup was like really, really hard. You know, you just gotta skill diff these people, right? This person, I think Ryan ended up going 5-4, which is good. And I think he played really well. He sat down, right? He sat down. You know, people play with their plushes. I have my Whimsicott, my Terrakion plush with me. He sits down with a huge Terrapagos plush that's in like a baby carrier, like a front baby pouch carrier. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, it's only Terrapagos for me today. How am I supposed to do well? Because I'm currently like 2-1. Like, I'm not doing hot, right? And I just keep getting my worst matchup. And I'm like, it's not that popular to where... And everyone I'm seeing around me isn't using Terrapagos. It's all like the freest things like Miraidon and Koraidon and shit. And so, of course, I get my worst matchup every round. Never lucky. So against his team, though, you can see it's really reactive. It's, you know, Tailwind Torn with Cloak Terrapagos, a little bit of redirection from Volk and Clef, but like, there's not that much speed. And there's a difference between like an uptick and like it's the only thing that's at the tournament, though, you know? Anyways, long story short, I lead Whimsicott Terrakion against this guy. And turn 1, I think I talked about this earlier, he tries to nuke my Whims. If we take a look at my Whims, it's Ghost Terra, which you don't want to force that Terra, but I don't have Sash or anything like that. And actually, my Whims is almost full bulk. Don't tell anyone, it's like a full bulk Whims. So he tries to go like fake out Starstorm my Whims turn 1. And I go side beat up the Terrakion. He's not able to fake out me because I clicked upper hand on onto his Rillaboom. So I upper handed the Rillaboom. The Rillaboom, I'm just going to let you guys know, he could have just like he could have just Woodhammered my Terrakion and I would have lost the game. He could have soaked the damage from the beat up and just Woodhammered my Terrakion and I would have lost the game. But I knew that I know what my team... I know that, like, if you're leading that way, you're trying to catch something so you can enable something, which means I know that you have Rillaboom, Terrapagos, Torn. I know that that's what you have, based off how you're leading and how you're playing it. So, I did the play, I got the plus, and I just beat him the heck up, you know? Like, oh, it was so good. That was so good that I just enabled my Tailwind and I won the game. And then in game 2, it actually came down to... Game 2 actually came down to Volcarona and Clef. It came down to Volk and Clef versus... How would I even explain this? Shadow Rider and Indeedee. My Indeedee's Terra, so because you see the Volk's move here is Struggle Bug, Rage Powder, Overheat. We just didn't want to take that damage of Water Terra on my Indeedee. So I was Water Terra Indeedee, and I was like a full health Shadow Rider. And he's just going like double protect, like Life Dew, protect Life Dew, protect Life Dew, protect Life Dew. And I'm just throwing out Astrals. And I eventually get the KO after 8 Astrals. It takes all 8 of them to get the KO. And I get it. I get a 2-0 victory in a really shit matchup. And we take those. We take those. Our record improves to 3-1, and we're gaming. So my next round. Look at this guy's team. Eternatus. You know, I said that I only had one good matchup, and that's a Zenta. I don't think this is a good matchup for me. This is where I got pretty lucky. If you actually take a look at his team, he has like normal Terra Dango. He has Wide Guard Pelipper with the Sash. It's a really, really cool team. He was also the nicest person that I played in the whole tournament. Really, really cool guy. I think he streams as well. He's full setup on the Eternatus with the Dark Terra. So in game 1 against this, I lead Clef Shadow Rider. And I think I lead Clef Shadow Rider because that's a really solid lead into Ursh if they want to be Ursh guys. It's really good into Grim. We also have like Ground Terra. And this guy's at 4-1, right? So he's not bad. He's obviously knows what he's doing. Give me just 1 second here. Yeah. So yeah, he's 4-1. And I lead Clef Shadow Rider because I have Ground Terra on the Clef to redirect the Thunder Wave off the Grim if I want. But if they lead Dango, we don't know what they're going to do with the Dango. And this is my thought process into how this matchup works. Because the Dango and the Eternatus both are requiring Terra to deal with Shadow Rider, being the Dango wants to Terra Normal to stop Astral, and then the Eternatus wants to Terra Dark to stop Expanding Force, and I have both those as options and Revival. If I just force the Terra, I win the game. So like turn 1, I just go Follow Me Astral. He goes normal Terra Dango. He goes Light Screen, all these things. I just chip the Grim. Long story short, next turn, he Nasty Plots that turn. I Astral again. I crit the Grim. We lose the Shadow Rider. I then bring out the Pawmot, revive, pivot out the Clef, bring back in the Shadow Rider, and then like I just dump truck everything. I kill the Dango with an Expanding Force. I think I crit that one. It was funny. And then I OHKO the Eternatus behind a Light Screen with an Expanding Force. And I thought that was... We both couldn't actually believe that got KO'd. And I think his last mod was Rhydon, which also just got tapped by Expanding Force. Yeah, Rhydon's a good mon on this team, I think. It's great. And like this team's biggest weakness is probably Rhydon. And you know, Rhydon was pretty good. And so in game 2, he leads the Grim Dango again. And he doesn't Terra the Dango, thinking he can go like big Dark Terra Eternatus. And I just tap the Dango with the Astral, right? And he goes into the Eternatus, who has like the pressure and all the things like that. And he gets to like +3 or +4 because he has Dark Terra. And I'm just throwing an Astral every turn. Like I'm just going like Helping Hand Astral, Follow Me Astral. Rhyperior does get Lightning Rod. Yeah, it's right there. But Eviolite Rhydon's just thicker. Yeah, Rhyperior gets Lightning Rod. Definitely. Anyways, it comes down to, on my last Astral, I have one more Astral left. I go for the Helping Hand Astral, and I get another crit through the Light Screen, through the +3 Cosmic Power Boost, and I get the OHKO. And me and him were just like, we couldn't even believe this is happening. But like, it honestly, truly did not matter. Because I have Terrakion on the back. Sacred Sword. Like, I conditioned your Terra of either the Dark or the normal Terra Dango. And, you know, Terrakion would have came in and just two-shotted this guy. Because it was all alone. And, like, Sludge Bomb Flamethrower don't do anything to Terrakion. You can't even burn me with the Flamethrower. I got Cloak. So, I had it. It's just that, like, it was funny that I got, you know, like 3-4 crits in, like, one match. I never get that lucky. Sacred Sword does not care. Yeah, Sacred Sword does not care. So, you can see that puts me, right, at a 5-1. Now remember, I only need 6 wins, period, to get my Worlds invite. I get 6 wins, I get enough points to qualify for the Pokemon World Championships in Hawaii. So, with that being said, my next matchup I go into it. It's against NAIC, and I had never seen this person before, but they were probably they were the best person I played in the whole tournament. They had the best record of anyone I played in the tournament, and they had like that like extreme day 2 worlds level difference. I'm talking like, you know, Aaron Zhang, Wolf Glick, Zhou UX9, Riley Factura, that like, you know, Justin Tang, like that aura, that like energy to where like if I am not 1000% locked in, I lose. This is a really good team. I'm not kidding. This was like a really, really cool team. And remember, if I win this, right? If I win this, I get my invite, right? Let me just make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, sorry. I have to win this one again. I don't have the invite yet at all. So that means there's even more pressure because I still need to beat this person and somebody else. I'm 4-1. Look at that team though. Water Terra, Taunt, Stealth Rocks, Throat Chop, Ting Lu with Dozo. How am I even supposed to beat that with like a Shadow Rider team? How do I beat it? Well, I'll tell you how I beat it. The way I beat this team made no sense at all. So there's one flaw on this team. There's technically 2 that I think. And that is that the Dozo is not unaware and the Ting Lu doesn't have Protect. I was able to leverage both of those to my advantage. So like turn 1, I lead Whimsicott Terrakion. And I go side beat up and I hit that Dozo as hard as I can. And we force the Ting Lu Terra, right? So we soak a Yawn, force the Ting Lu into that Water Terra. And then next turn, I go for I pivot out my Terrakion for my Shadow Rider, and they like yawn my my Whims, and I finish off. I chunk the Ting Lu for a little bit. I think I flung the Ting Lu because I didn't want to pivot in on a I didn't want them to Stealth Rocks. Yeah, because I have Palmont in the back. And then so Shadow Rider's on the board versus like a 10 HP Dozo and like a full HP Ting Lu, and so I pivot out my Shadow Rider without ever using a move, and I swap back in my Terrakion and side beat up again. The Dozo, I think, swaps that turn to Screamtail, but I got a second fresh set of pain on a beat up, and then from there I just like tailwinded and just like Terrakion towned all the way, you know. Oh, and I pivoted in on a Throat Chop. Yeah, so I went to +5. And so like I had to be massive gaming to get that one. Yo, thank you for the follow. It was a sick game. And I think in game 2, I'm looking at my notes. Terrakion's real strict. It is, yeah. Terrakion's MVP. I lead, you know, the lead that I was talking about that you need to be going into most matchups, the Whimsicott Shadow Rider. That's what I lead for game 2. They lead Don Dozo and Ting Lu again. And in that one, I brought Terrakion, but I went into a really hyper-focused trade mode with Clef. And so basically, I just went like turn 1, like fling, Astral, you put me to sleep, Astral again, get put to sleep, but Dozo's now gone. And then like I kind of just leveraged Terrakion for the rest of the game. I ended up getting one really clutch flinch in that game because we went into probably a 15-turn game where they had like the Encores and Stables. They went big into Screamtail that game. But I was eventually able to get a flinch on a Screamtail after I'd already forced it out one turn. Sorry, not on the Screamtail. I was able to flinch their Shadow Rider. So they were going to side Pollen Puff their Ting Lu in a matchup where it would have like flipped the game. But I got one good Rock Slide flinch. And very, very important. But yeah, once I got the Dozo off the board, it was super fine. And I was able to get that match 2-0. And again, I didn't know how good they were. I actually went out and checked. There's a website called like PT, like Pokemon Trainer, like live rankings or whatever. It shows your personal like ELO. This is the strongest person I've ever played at a regional. They're like, I think the second or maybe like top 4 from China. And they were just like there. I'd never seen them before. But I knew, like I felt the aura. Like I felt that I had to like play really read heavy for this matchup. And yeah, if it was on stream, it would have been nuts. It was a crazy good game, and I was able to win that. I couldn't believe it. And so that makes me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-1. 5-1. Professional Pokemon player, 5-1. 1 win away from World's Invite. That's a +1. And, of course, I sit down. My opponent has Terapagos Balance for the next round. And I'm looking around, like, I see, like, Kyurem White. I see, like, Miraidon, Koraidon, Kyogre. All matchups that are just free as fuck. And I'm fighting, you know, Terapagos' strongest soldier. This guy makes day 2. The person we just talked about also made day 2. I can't beat this one. Like, I can't beat, like, the Rilla, Ursh, like, Clef, Terapagos Balance. And, yo, thank you. Oh my gosh, is that 2 gifted subs? Yo. Hey, thank you. Thank you, friend. Helping us get to Hawaii. 2 subs at a time. Appreciate it. Yo, thank you. Happy to hear it. Happy to hear, you know, you're here. But it was an executive decision when I brought this team, right? When I brought this team, like, to the tournament, I knew that I had no Terapagos matchup, and I'm like, I'm only going to fight, like, 2 of those, not, like, 4, right? And they just get me. I'm trying to think of what I led. Jim, thank you so much. Looking at what I led here. Yeah, I led Whimsicott Shadow Rider. I tried the thing, and they led, like, Clef Terapagos, and that's like exact. You just lead Clef Terapagos. Like, you basically just lead, like, turn 1. You go, like, you either lead, like, Rilla Terapagos, or, like, protect, or, like, fake out Calm Mind, and then you just pivot in your Clef Protect, and then, like, Life do the damage you soak back, and it's like, it's bad. Thank you for the congrats. Yeah, Cloak makes it, like, really impossible, because I can't fling the Terapagos, and they have redirection. Like, my team can't beat this one. And so, never a lucky matchup. They got me, they might have gotten me 2-0. I think I might have won a game. I don't remember. But I don't have a match against Austin. They went in day 2 as well. So my 8th round. So now my 5-1 is slipping it away to a 5-2. I need to win at least 1 round before I lose 2 to get my World's Invite. Otherwise, this whole year is for naught. And I'm like, God, I just keep fighting Terapagos. Whenever I'm at my lowest point, I just keep fighting Terapagos. Go up into my 8th round. TG Bahamut, another Worlds level player, already has his invite. Terapagos again. But this guy's team Terapagos, this team cooks. His team cooks, bro. Look at this. Just look at the team sheet. Just look at it. I'm going to pull up my notes. You guys look at that team sheet. This guy's, like, big cooking. He has, like, Power Herb, Rock Polish Terapagos. And, like, Sash, Urge, Fire Pond. Like, there's a lot going on there. So I'm doing my best, and I'm tilted. Like, I'm tilted. Like, I just can't. If I don't fight Terapagos, I'm 1 win away. I'm fine. We go into this. I lead Whimsicott Shadow Rider. He leads Ogre Pond Terapagos. And I'm able to leverage advantage without bringing Palmot, which I think was really crazy. I was able to leverage advantage with just, like, Terrakion in the back of that game. Just because I really thought I would see a little bit more Ursh, and I didn't think Palmot would be as good into Ursh, and I think Terrakion's better into Terapagos than Palmot is, so I brought Terrakion. So my 4 there were Whimsicott Shadow Rider, Indy, Terrakion, which is greedy, not bringing the Palmot. But I didn't think Palmot would never really come into play because I didn't really want to set Tailwinds in that one, so I didn't think I'd have the speed control. Game 2, I do the same type of thing, but this time I bring the Palmot instead of the Terrakion, and he actually plays really, really well. He leads exactly the same, and he actually ends up getting game 2. So not only, like, am I the most tilted that I can be, my whole season's, like, running away from me because all these Terapagos players, and I'm going into a game 3 where my best option just fell short. So, and again, my best play into this team just shit the bed. He outplayed me too, like, he got me. So, what do I do? What do I do in game 3? Whimsicott Shadow Rider doesn't work. Whimsicott Shadow Rider, like Palmot, doesn't work. Whimsicott Terrakion. And I'm not gonna lie, I just degenerately flinched this man out of the game. I just back to back, like, He leads Terapagos Ogre again. He's done it all 3 games. Flinched. I wasn't necessarily trying to flinch. I was trying to stick damage because my last two were Indie Shadow Rider. So I'm like, hey, if I stick damage on that Terrapagos, if I get the Terrapagos to about 75%, I then bring out Shadow Rider, pivoting the Entity, Expanding Force taps it. Because it doesn't have Calm Mind, right? And this team, the team that he's using has no other real ways of stopping that. There's no anything else. So I'm playing it correct. But like, I led like Whimsicott Terrakion, and I just went like, I just went Tailwind, Rock Slide. You don't go for the beat up because they have their Ogre Pawn who's using Follow Me, right? So like, I do like, 60% of the Ogre Pawn. I flinch the Terrapagos. That turn I pivot out the Shadow Rider, do it again. This time he gets his Rock Polish off, but then like I still have the Tailwind up and I still have Shadow, and so I just pivot out Terrakion for Indity and just double tap both of his mons with Expanding Force, and I beat the last two mons in the back too, which was the Flutter and Hands. But I flinched him. Like I got the clutch flinches. Like I leaned into. I did it with like Terrakion. Like I did everything Terrakion needed, man. And I got my World's Invite. And so that was right there. There's a reason Rock Slide is the best move in the game. Yeah, dude, it's busted. So I got the win at round 8 against Terrapagos. I went 2-2 into like an unwinnable matchup, I think. And I just sat there and I felt so good and so validated, and it was just perfect. And then my last round, I'm playing against one of my locals. His team's actually really cool. And we were talking before the match. Like, he said something about like needing the points, or like he really needed the day 2. And he's usually like really like calm, but he was like obviously like really like he needed it. He was like not tilted, but like anxious, right? And so I'm not gonna lie, like I'm just gonna give it to him. I didn't want to play Pokemon anymore after I beat Bahamut. Like I was just like, hey, I got my World's Invite. Like I was so done with Mons for the day. I didn't even want to take my Switch out for the last round. And I was like, I'm fighting with my buddies. Like he can have it. Like we're good. We're so good. Like this is the best situation. This is a win-win because like I didn't really want to play day 2. He really wants to play day 2. I'm able to let him do that. We played like a couple turns, and my plan was to try to BM him and then just give it to him. So like I led Terrakion, Shadow Rider, and just tried to Rock Slide, flinch, crit, out. And his team's actually really cool against mine. I don't actually think I could have beaten him if we were to play. Because he has normal Terra Calyrex. He's using a really fast Ogre Pound, which is faster than my Terrakion, which I think is still really cool. So I think he still had me, but I wanted to give it to him anyways. Weird Team Guy on Patreon. Yeah, I need to post that this week. But it's really cool. He played really, really well. He made day 2 as well. So he made day 2. Austin, Tropos player, made day 2. DeWay made day 2. And Logan made day 2. And so I ended up getting 87th. Technically it was 89th, and I think there was a couple of disqualifications. But I got 87th in the whole tournament, which qualifies me for the Pokemon World Championships. And it's almost 1,000 people. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, team worked. It was really cool to see a team that I made that used my favorites work. I was the only Terrakion in the whole tournament. Literally Terrakion's one and only strongest soldier. That's me. So that's the story of NAIC. And yeah, that's pretty much it.